Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 449. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is what Blacks can learn from the Jewish circular economy. What Blacks can learn from the Jewish circular economy. Unfortunately, when it comes to the economic totem pole, us Black folks are on the bottom. And that's due to multiple reasons. Obviously, systemic racism, also a lack of commitment on our part to build an economic power base and work together, unified. So what we're going to do today is I'm actually going to dissect and discuss an audio clip that I'm going to play from a Jewish businessman named Berel Solomon. Now, I'll have the link in the actual show notes. And he talks about the Jewish circular economy. It's about a 7 to 8 minute clip. And then I'm going to dissect it. And then we're going to discuss and talk about what we can do as a community to start building an economic power base and working together. Now, before we get to today's content, I just want to share a few things with the BEB family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. Also, 2 platforms I've created to help circulate dollars in the worldwide Black community, BeSmartByBlack.com and HireBlackFreelancers.com. They are on their way back, guys, but there's going to be a subscription model to the platform, and I'll talk about that on another show. Also, don't forget to get 3 days free access to BEB Academy. Go to BEBacademy.com. It is an online learning portal that has all types of online classes, master classes, resources, and downloads to help you build your business regardless of the stage that you're in. You could be new to entrepreneurship or you could be a seasoned entrepreneur. All types of resources to help elevate your entrepreneur IQ. And last but not least, make sure you take the revenuekillerquiz.com. Find out what's the #1 thing holding you back from generating revenue. It's a quick 90-second quiz. Go to revenuekillerquiz.com, or you can text quiz, Q-U-I-Z, to 201-740-2725. That's 201-740-2725. Now, let's get ready for today's show content. So the first thing I want to do is play this quick audio excerpt from Berel Solomon, a Jewish business owner, and then we're going to discuss and dissect exactly what he's talking about and how we can implement and utilize it in our own community.
Today I'm going to be discussing the Jewish circular economy. A lot of people have said that Jewish people are good at business. Now, instead of me calling this anti-Semitism, I'm going to double down and say, heck yeah, we're good at business. Let me teach you some of the secrets that we've accumulated over the past 3,000 years. This being one of the biggest and baddest secrets that we have. You're going to want to stay until the very end of this video because that's when it's going to all start to make sense. And you're going to be able to apply this not only to yourself, but your community and everybody around you. My name is Berel Solomon. If this is your first time on my page, please hit the subscribe button. Please leave me a like. Please leave me a comment so that we could be connected more often. Let's jump in. the Jewish circular economy. Let me explain to you how this works. So there's a few core businesses that Jewish people are involved in. Let me first explain to you what type of businesses we go into. So one is, it's a business that has to make a lot of money. To be Jewish, it's expensive. I myself, thank God, have 5 kids, and hopefully I'll have more than 5 more. It's expensive to be a Jew, and we need to make a lot of money. So that's number one. Whatever business we go into has to be lucrative. Number two, it has to be moral. It is very rare, if ever, actually I can almost guarantee this, you will never find an Orthodox Jewish man in the strip club business. Yes, it makes a lot of money, but it is not a moral business. Let's talk about some businesses that do make a lot of money and are moral. So let's just talk about like real estate, for example, okay? Let's call real estate one of the core businesses. So here's the circular economy explained. So a Jewish man gets a real estate deal. Let's call it 200 units in the Bronx, okay, somewhere, right? And he buys the deal. First of all, the deal most likely is probably coming from a Jewish broker or one of his other Jewish friends in the real estate business. So once he secures that deal, he needs to go finance that deal. So who's the first logical person for him to pick up the phone to? A Jewish friend that is in finance, right? There's Jewish people that own banks, there's Jewish mortgage brokers, there's Jewish lenders out there. He's going to pick up the phone and he's going to call his buddy that he sees in synagogue every day because his buddy knows that he's a good guy, he trusts him, and he knows that if spit hits the fan, he knows exactly where he sits, exactly where his house is, exactly who to talk to make sure he could get through to him. So Jewish businessman is going to buy the piece of real estate. He's going to want to finance it with one of his Jewish buddies. And now he's going to have to service that piece of real estate, right? There's snow removal, there's cleaning supplies, there's construction that's going to need to be done. All of those, he's going to try to hire Jewish people and Jewish companies in order to try to fulfill this. And I'm going to explain to you all why. It's going to make sense to you, like I said, by the end, but you got to stick to the end. So now he's hired his buddies to do the construction, like I said, to do the remodeling, to do the construction supplies. Whatever it is, he's going to try to hire Jewish. And now those companies, so for example, like as I mentioned, the construction company, right? That construction company also needs services. The construction company needs accounting, it needs advertising, it needs office space, it needs all types of ancillary services. So even the supporting, the direct services to the real estate, the supporting service, right? The construction company, we're just using one of them for example, he is going to try to hire Jewish people to do his indirect services. He's going to hire a Jewish business accountant. He's going to try to hire a Jewish lawyer. He's going to try to rent his office space from his buddy Shlomo, who owns the office building right next to his synagogue. You see what I mean? He's going to try to give that business to those people. And by the way, all the while, all of these people all along the way, guess what they're all doing? Circular economy. They're taking tithes, they're taking at least 10% of their earnings, of their profits, and they're pushing it down to charity. So that means, and by the way, their own charities, their own synagogues, their own schools, their own food banks, their own disability centers. Why? Because they want to create this circular economy. Now let me tell you why. You might be watching it this far, you might say to yourself, how is it fair? Why is it okay that they can do this, that we can do this? First of all, not only is it okay, but you're going to understand why and how you could apply this to yourself and your community going forward. So let me give you some reasons why a circular economy is good for you. So number one is, this is probably the biggest one, trust. Everybody in this circle, okay? If he has a problem with, let's say the real estate guy has a problem with the company that's supplying to him his supplies, his cleaning supplies for his building. And he has a dispute, right? So he ordered $10,000 worth of garbage bags. The garbage bags turned up faulty. Now they have a problem. So he knows, the real estate operator knows, that if he has a problem with any of the people that he's doing business with. Because they are Jewish, they have common friends, they have common rabbis, they have common associates, and they will be embarrassed to screw each other. They won't mess each other up because they go to synagogue with each other. They go to school, their kids go to school with each other. Right? So they're going to be very careful in order to treat each other with respect and dignity. So trust is the number one thing. Here's another thing. They think the same. Okay? A lot of times, I'll get on the phone with people from different cultures. I remember when I was the vice president of my college, and I remember people think different. We had somebody who represented the LGBT community. We had somebody who represented the African American community. We had somebody who represented the Chinese community in the school. We had the evangelical community. All of us came to the table. We were trying to make policies, and I remember we all thought very different. We all had different priorities. So they're creating this circular economy. Why? Because they think the same. And then number 3 is because they're a big family. We are a big family, right? So it makes sense that you should want to see the people around you succeed. It makes sense that you should want to give the business to your brother, to your neighbor, to your cousin, to your uncle. Why? Because we are taught in Judaism, and I see a lot of communities, they don't understand this, and they have to get better at this. We want to see each other succeed. We want to see each other grow because we understand. Check this out, and it's all going to start to make sense, right? I told you to watch to the end. We understand that if we're all doing well, the excess flow of all this money gets pushed down back into the community charities. So when my neighbor, my Jewish neighbor does well, and he's making a lot of money, and he now is going to donate that money to my kid's school, right? Let's say that's one of his charities, right? He's going to donate that money to my kid's school. That's good for me. My kid's going to have new whiteboards, new blackboards. He's going to have new equipment, new gyms, new whatever it is. So I want to push money, and I want to push business towards people in my economy, in my community. Why? Because my community directly benefits, and when my community is doing good, I benefit from that doing good. So this is not unique, by the way, to the Jewish community. I don't care what sect you're from. I don't care what religion, what race. Everybody could establish this circular community.
All right, guys, we're about to jump in, discuss and dissect what you just heard from the audio of Mr. Berel Solomon, a Jewish business owner, and we're going to talk about what we can do in our community to implement some of these practices. The first thing I want to discuss is that he mentioned in the audio that this is not something that is solely in the Jewish community. There are other communities out there that actually practice similar principles. Unfortunately, we don't. So you have the Asian community, you have the Indian community, and you have other communities that practice similar principles. Like I said, we don't, unfortunately, and there are many reasons why that's happening. Now, there's no excuse for it because we need to move as one, as a unit, and build an economic power base. Like I always say, guys, there's no revolution without the economics, and other ethnicities understand that. Now, let's break down what he was discussing with the Jewish circular economy. So basically, what it is, guys, it's using and supporting your own businesses in your community. So the first thing he talked about, though, was a core business. He said your core business must make a lot of money, like real estate, right? And it has to be moral. Those are the two things when it comes to a core business. And if you ever notice, if you're in a major city, you'll realize, especially New York City and other big cities, that there is a close-knit Jewish community. In Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, there's a very tight-knit Hasidic Jewish community. And throughout other cities throughout the United States, and I'm sure throughout the world. So their core businesses must make a lot of money. So number one, they're not talking about these, micro businesses. They're trying to do something that's going to allow them to build an economic power base. And he used the example of real estate. Okay. And the second part is he said it has to be moral. So I always talk about selling life versus selling death in our community. And I know everybody wants to make money, but the things that you're selling, are you selling life to the community or are you selling death to the community? I mentioned on the show before, one of my cousins has a cognac brand. And I didn't want to advertise the cognac brand on the podcast because I'm talking about life and death. Now, there's nothing wrong with drinking. I drink my beer, watching my games. I drink my bourbon. That's all fine and dandy. But I'm not going to peddle or promote it on my platform. And when you own the platform, guess what, family? You can do whatever you want. So I'm not going to do anything or promote anything on this platform that promotes negativity and death. And once again, I drink. All right. I drink beer and I drink bourbon or whatever, and as long as you do it in moderation, you're in good shape. So he talked about core business, number one. Then he used the example of real estate and he talked about financing. And so he was saying that he has to use a Jewish financier for his business. OK, it's no ifs, ands or buts. In that example, when he's buying real estate or whatever he's buying for, his business, he's going to go to a Jewish bank. He's going to go to a Jewish mortgage company. He's going to go to Jewish lenders or whatever. He understands that there's no other option. This is what I'm going to do. And we're talking right now about the circular economy. Then he said for direct services. So anything that the business needs, use a Jewish service business. So in his example, when he's buying real estate, he's buying a 200 unit building. The cleaning company, the construction company, anything that has to do directly with that business, he's going to go to a Jewish provider. I want you guys to peep this also. On the next part of the Jewish circular economy, he talks about indirect services. So not necessarily having to do with that real estate in particular, but using Jewish service providers like attorneys, accountants, renting office space, from Jewish people in that Jewish community. So the circular economy has 4 parts, or actually 5 parts. Number 1, the core business must make a lot of money and it has to be moral. Number 2, finance. You must use a Jewish financier for your business, Jewish bank, mortgage company, or lender. Number 3, direct services. Anything that business needs, use a Jewish service business, like a cleaning company, construction company, or whatever. And number 4, indirect services. Use Jewish service providers like attorneys, accountants, if you're renting your office space or whatever. Everything is encapsulated in that community. Now, the 5th and probably the most important component of the Jewish circular economy is charity. So he said everything flows down to Jewish charities. But the tie that binds, though, is their religion. And so with us, we have different, practices. We have Islam, we have Christianity, we have different religions. But in their community, basically, they have the same religion. That is the tie that binds. So 10% of everything they make goes down to Jewish charities. Doesn't go to the United Negro College Fund. It doesn't go over here to help somebody else. It goes to Jewish charities. So everyone ties 10% to Jewish charities that affect the Jewish community. He mentioned food banks, synagogues, daycare, schools. And this is important, guys. So there's more of a commitment to do this because their religion is involved and it's the glue that holds them together. Whereas, some of us, we're not religious at all. And that's fine. You have free will. Some people are Christians, some people are Muslims, some people are this or whatever, agnostic, whatever. But what holds their whole community and that circular economy together, guys, is their faith and their religion. And that's big. So if they don't follow that religious belief, then that's considered a negative in their religion. So once again, the 5 components of the Jewish circular economy: core businesses must make money and have to be moral. They have to finance their businesses through Jewish entities. They do direct services. Anything that the business needs, they use a Jewish service business. Indirect services, they use a Jewish service provider. Also, in number 5, the charity. Everything flows down to Jewish charities. So as he said in the video or audio, if my business is doing well and I'm tithing 10% to Jewish charities, that's just going to benefit the community. See, with us, unfortunately, we're not doing anything like that because we're trying to benefit ourselves first and foremost. And I get it. Been there, done that. We have no formula to do that in our community. Number one, most times when you have a Jewish community, like a Hasidic Jewish community, they control everything in that area. In Brooklyn, like I said, everything in Williamsburg in that area was Jewish controlled, Jewish owned. And so they live together in close proximity. Us, we don't. In certain areas we do, but a lot of times in the suburbs we don't. But everything is focused on that 10% tithe. Now, we tithe, in our community, but you have to have the power of discernment. Now, they're tithing to charities, synagogues, schools, different things, food banks, and we're tithing to churches, and you have to discern, is that church utilizing your tithes properly? Or is it a Cadillac fund for the pastor? So being able to understand and discern where we provide money for charities, make sure that you're doing something that's going to affect the people that need the money. All right. So the power of discernment, the Bible talks about that. So you want to make sure if you're tithing to an organization or a church that's really making a difference, and it's not just filling the pastor's pockets. All right. And I'm not even going to get into all of that right now. But basically what he was talking about now is utilizing our money. And I talk about this all the time, building and supporting Black owned businesses. That's what Black Entrepreneur Blueprint is about. Building an economic power base to build and support Black owned businesses. And with that economic power, now you can affect change. You can affect change in schools. You can affect change in politics, creating political action committees. Politicians make policy. All right. And I don't want to talk about that no voting dumb stuff. Don't even get me started on that. Because if you're going to vote, you damn sure better vote for your local elections. All right. You definitely better vote for that. They're the people that are controlling your property taxes, your public schools, your zoning. When grandma been living in her house for 50 years and then the politicians in there get their hands greased by the developers and now they gentrify grandma's neighborhood. She can't pay the taxes because there's a tax hike. Grandma gets kicked out of the house and you're mad because how can they do that? They did that because you didn't vote. That's how they did that. It's economics. Economics controls everything. And if you don't understand that, then you got a whole lot more problems. All right. So when people and groups stick together, that's when change can happen. All right. Case in point, in Philly, they're trying to build a new arena for the 76ers right downtown, which is going to bump up next to Chinatown. And I'm telling you right now, as soon as those plans were announced, the Chinese community galvanized, the politicians, the business owners. And remember, the difference between a lot of other ethnicities and us is they actually own the buildings in their parts of town. Most times we're renting. So when you go to Chinatown in most major cities, they own these buildings. They're Chinese banks. They're politicians that handle that area. They have community organizations. So the first thing that they did was they had a community meeting saying, guess what? We don't want this arena here because it's going to mess up our revenues. We don't want it here. And I guarantee you, they're trying to open it, I think, in about 3 or 4 years. I guarantee you it's not going nowhere near Chinatown because they have that economic power base. They have money and they have resources and they work together. And that's what the Jewish circular economy is talking about. So every other ethnicity understands this and gets this. Okay, you go to a Chinese restaurant. I guarantee you the food that they're buying it from a wholesaler that's Chinese. The chopsticks that they buy or that you use, they're buying it from a Chinese wholesaler or manufacturer. Everything they do, the signage, their accountant, their attorney. But what do we want to do? The first time, if you look at the entertainment and sports industry, who are all the agents? Right now, you got a couple Clutch Sports, that's LeBron and them's thing or whatever. But most of your major stars and agents are with a Jewish attorney or a Jewish management company. And that's not by accident. They understand that this is where the money is and they're going to be there. But I guarantee you, if you had a top Jewish actor or actress, do you think they're going to go to a black money manager? No. Do you think they're going to use a black attorney? No. Do you think they're going to use a black agent? No. And guess what? That's their business and they have the right to do that. But why are we so good or so easily swayed to use somebody else? And it's all based on what we've been fed, that nonsense we've been fed, that we're not good enough. Oh, the black businesses aren't good enough. Oh, this guy's going to steal your money. You heard of Bernie Madoff? Okay, so this can happen in any community. So all the Jewish people didn't say, oh, Bernie Madoff stole our money. We're never going to use Jewish financiers again. We're never going to go to a Jewish bank or investment advisor again. I just finished watching Madoff on Netflix the other day, and the man was horrible. He was a monster. He destroyed lives. But you don't see the Jewish community saying, you know what, I'm never going to go to a Jewish money manager again. They will, and that's what all the other communities do. Asian community, the Indian community, the Jewish community, everybody but us. We're so ready to give our money to somebody else. Is burning a hole in your pocket. You know, I did a video on Jim Jones when he was in Gucci, getting upset because he trying to spend 29 racks and they didn't even want to serve him. Why are you going to be so stupid and ignorant to give your money to people that don't even respect you? That's why we're on the bottom of the totem pole right now. And I'm telling you, it starts with you. Man, I'm about to go through 10 Jewish business secrets. I didn't play this audio, but I'm going to give you these 10 Jewish business secrets that my man Berel Solomon talked about in another video. And we're going to talk about some of the things or tenets that they live by in the Jewish community. And it's all focused on working together. So you look at a lot of these cats out here, these rappers and entertainers and all of this. I forgot who I was watching one day on Instagram. He's like, yeah, I got 1.2 on my wrist and 600,000 around my neck. And I'm saying to myself, oh, you proud of that? You see people with real money doing that? You know how you can buy apartment buildings with that's $1.8 million on your body. You can buy apartment buildings with that. When your rap career starts to fail and stall, because it will, and nobody stays on the up all the time. I don't care what type of artist you are. Michael Jackson, he had a curve up, then he came down. Anybody out there has a curve. So instead of looking silly with $1.8 million on you, walking around like a nut, then go ahead and invest that money so when you are down, then you'll have an investment. Put it in an annuity that's going to pay you each month. Buy apartment buildings, buying something else. But that's the reason why we're on the bottom of the economic totem pole, for nonsense like that. You trying to show everybody that you got something. That's a weak mind. And trust me, I may offend some people out here, but guess what? It is what it is. There's a point of enlightenment where you have to understand what you're doing. The light bulb needs to go off. Yo, man, I'm getting this paper. Maybe I should think about utilizing it and investing it in assets as opposed to wearing it around my neck or on my wrist or whatever. To me, it's ridiculous. And we're going to talk about some 10 of the Jewish business secrets. And one of them talks particularly to this, exactly what I'm saying. As y'all can hear, I'm getting amped up right now because we have everything we need, guys, to build this type of community and to be able to work together. The problem is we're not in lockstep. We're not in unison. Everybody is about, I got to get mine, right? And I get that. You can't help anybody else until you get yourself done, right? You got to get yourself in position. But like I said, one of the benefits with the Jewish circular economy is that charity component. That's more of a commitment to do this because their religion is involved and it's the glue that holds everything together for them. And that's something that we don't have because we have different religions, we practice different religions, Islam, Christianity, maybe atheist, agnostic, whatever it is. But that's something, that thread that really holds that together. So we're going to talk real quick about 10 Jewish business secrets. And this was in a video also by Berel Solomon. I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to go over it. And then we're going to talk about how we can implement this in our community too. So number one, he said there's a commandment in the Jewish community that says, teach your children how to earn a living. Teach your children how to earn a living. And he said, if you do not do that, it's like teaching them how to steal. My question to you is, what are you teaching your children? Are you teaching them how to earn a living? And when he says earn a living, he's not talking about working for somebody else. And you'll see that later on in one of the other secrets. He's talking about being able to make your own money, create your own money. And that is a commandment, he said, in the Jewish community. That's something that you grow up. You got to figure out how to make your own money. He said, if you don't teach your children this, it's like you're teaching them how to steal. The number two secret, be honest in all your business dealings, right? So that's pretty common around the board, across the board. You want to be honest in all your business dealings. Number three, have a positive relationship with money. And he said money is a tool to use to build community and family. And I'm going to add, not buy dumb stuff. And that's exactly what I was talking about with some of these entertainers and artists and all of that stuff. Have a positive relationship with money. And I get it. When you come from nothing and you able to come up and you got money that you never dreamed that you would have, you're excited. But like I said, there comes a point of enlightenment when you got to say, okay, all right, I've done the dumb stuff. I've wasted millions of dollars on cars, jewelry, clothes, all this nonsense. Let me have a positive relationship with money. Let me respect it. Let me understand that it is a tool. Okay. And what he said in this other videos, it's a tool used to build community and family. It's not a tool to make yourself look like an idiot. All right. To build community and family. Once again, you have that commonality or that thread through the charity, which is based on their religion. And these are 10 Jewish business secrets, according to Berel Solomon, the same guy that I played the audio from. Number four, secret four, we help our community. They try to support each other. Once again, keeping everything in the family. Number five, give at least 10% of earnings to charity. That's what I just talked about. 10% of earnings to charity, at least. Okay. And once again, you have to discern where your charity you're giving. Make sure you're giving it to somebody or some organization that's going to make a difference for the community or the intended people or persons that charity is for. All right. Like I said, we don't want a new BMW fund for Pastor whoever over there who got 25 people in his church and thinks he needs a new Benz or BMW every other year. So have the power of discernment, family. Okay. And that was number five. Give at least 10% of earnings to charity. Number six, prefer to be an owner versus a worker. So what they teach their children, number six, that they want you to be an owner, not a worker. They said only God is your master, not another man. Only God is your master, not another man. So they're taught not to work for anybody else. They're taught to build businesses. What are we teaching our children? And that goes to number one, teach your children how to earn a living, right? And so number seven, it's preferred to be an owner versus a worker, because they feel that if you work for somebody else, that person or that business is your God. And I did an episode, whoever pays you controls you. And that's right. So when you own it, guess what? Then you can do what you work. So do what you want. So they prefer you to be an owner than being a worker. And they teach you that, not just by teaching it audibly. They demonstrate it by starting their own businesses. Business secret number 7. Don't do to other people what you wouldn't want done to you. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Gotcha. Number 8. keep your money in 1/3 cash, 1/3 real estate, and 1/3 inventory. I'm going to repeat this. Keep your money in 1/3 cash, 1/3 real estate, and 1/3 inventory. So when they say inventory, a lot of times in the Jewish community, they'll have retail locations. So maybe a store or whatever. So they talk about inventory. But basically what they're saying is diversify your assets. Okay. And when they say 1/3 cash, you need cash when it's a crunch, right? So when we had the financial crisis of 2008, people were losing their lines of credit were getting shut down. They couldn't refinance their mortgage, but cash is always king. So number 8, keep your money in 1/3 cash, 1/3 real estate, and 1/3 inventory. Now, business secret number 9, according to Berel Solomon, take one day off from work totally to unplug. And they use their Sabbath day to do that. And it's funny because I do that too. Sunday, don't even ask me nothing. My office hours, Big Red, right? My office hours are from 9 to 5, but not on Sunday. I don't do nothing on Sunday except go to church, come home, and chill. It's time to re-energize and reboot. I don't talk about no types of business, no meetings, no nothing. So that's number 9. Number 10, he said, trust God. He said the core of their business dealings is that they trust God to be successful and they're not afraid to take calculated risk. So number 10, trust God. So don't be afraid to take calculated risk, and they're trusting God to help them in their business. And so what he talked about there was the 10 Jewish business secrets. So let me recap this real quick. Before I do that, though, let me just share all my social media contact information and resource links. We're going to keep it super simple today, guys. Everything I talked about at the top of the show, Be Smart, Buy Black, Hire Black Freelancers, BEBacademy.com, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, which is my another online course, Brand Builder Academy Elite, which is another online program if you want to start an e-commerce business. Everything is on the front page of the website. Go to blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Scroll down, you'll see all the online courses. Also, the resources. If you want to know about marketing, financing, scaling your business, strategy, and mindset, go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Hit the Learn tab, and there'll be all types of links to different resources, free resources, workshops, webinars, classes, all types of stuff. So we want to utilize blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. If you're lazy, you can type in BEBconnect.com. It's going to take you to the same place. Now, in order to connect with me, there's several ways to connect and follow me on social media. If you want to reach out to me, guys, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, JAYJONES@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, JJones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I got 2 IG accounts. The first one is J Jones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the podcast. Go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and hit that subscribe button. Clubhouse, I'm at I am J Jones. LinkedIn, connect with me there, J Jones Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Once again, everything I just said is on the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Spent a lot of time and resources to create this website, and we want that to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs. So everything I said, if you didn't write it down, go to blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Now, I just want to give you guys an overview and some of my thoughts and tips about how we can utilize some of this information for our community. And the first thing I want to say is we need to start thinking as a community. So in the United States, I believe last year, black folks had control over $1.6 trillion with a T, $1.6 trillion. The problem was it wasn't aggregated. It was all over the place. So if we utilized our resources and were able to come together to create political action committees, to create charities, to create different platforms and organizations that are going to move us forward in the forefront of education, politics, agriculture, anything we need to better ourselves as a community, that's what we need to focus on. But we're so busy worrying about, just us. And I get it. You got to take care of yourself first. But one of the things that I always talk about on the podcast is building and supporting Black-owned businesses. We have a supercomputer in our hands every day. So in order to support Black-owned businesses, guess what? You can go find Black-owned businesses. You can order from Black-owned businesses. I know you're ordering from Amazon, right? You see, we have to make a conscious effort to do so. That's what the Jewish community is doing. It's almost like you better not go outside the community, all right? Because if you do, you're going to be in trouble. The way we are, we're like, oh, man, I'm trying to get the best deal, blah, 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 and all of this. I don't care about that. I got to get mines, right? And in doing so, what you're doing is you're hurting yourself in the long run, okay? Because just like every other community and ethnicity, they stick together. And we're the only ones, like I said, that are more than happy to spend our money with somebody else that doesn't give a damn about us. When I'm telling you right now, it's so ridiculous. You think a Korean customer is going to go and spend money in the Black stores, or they're going to go to the Korean stores? You think the Indian customer is going to go to the Black or African supermarket, or they're going to go to the Indian supermarket? You think the Chinese customer is going to go to the Black supermarket, or they're going to go to the Chinese supermarket? Come on, man. I know places that there was this, what is it called? Farmers market that I was at. And it was a Caribbean farmers market owned and run by Chinese. And they were all up in there, had all the Caribbean foods, all the different products and brands up there. And the Chinese people owned it and ran it, as opposed to somebody from the Caribbean starting and building that business. And it's funny because we are their American dream. So they're eating and living off of us. Everybody is. But we're the only idiots that's trying to play kumbaya and bring everybody together and spend our money with everybody else. It's all good and dandy and fine and dandy to love one another. And that's what it's all about. It's all about love. But you got to be smart. You have to use your economic powers. We have everything that we need, family, to change our whole condition. $1.6 trillion. But and here's the crazy thing, less than 2 cents of every dollar is spent on a Black-owned business. What happens if we make it 20 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents? And I know it's tough because we don't produce and manufacture anything. And that's another thing about economics and building. We have to start building infrastructure. We have to start manufacturing. We have to start building hospitals, building banks, building Black-owned communities. We have to start doing that and stop going out and looking for somebody else to do something and then we go buy it. There's consumers and there's producers. And we've been taught, basically conditioned to be consumers. Like I said, Jim Jones over there, why don't you buy a Black-owned brand? You want to spend 29 racks? There's some great Black designers out there. But you know why you don't do that? It's because you want the prestige. Oh, I got Gucci. I got Balenciaga. I got this. I got that. They're laughing at you. You're a freaking clown. Now I'm going to keep this PG. That's not what I wanted to say. They're looking at you like a clown. Not just Jim Jones. A lot of us. You out there going to these jewelers, right? These Jewish jewelers they're making all of this crazy, stupid stuff you can't even resell. It's not like you're going out buying a Rolex and then you can resell it. You buying some customized chains, right? That the diamonds ain't even what they tell you. They're laughing at you. I saw an expose where they said a lot of times some $100,000 chains don't even cost $10,000 to make. And you over there, I'm going to this jeweler, I'm going here, I'm getting iced out, and they laughing at you. Just could you imagine the conversations that they have behind closed doors after you go and drop $100,000 on a BS, a bullshit ass chain that costs 10,000? Do you want to know what the conversation is? Look at those dumb, what, I ain't even gonna say the word. Look at them dumb cats right there. Man, they're silly. They just throwing their money away. And every other ethnicity is catching those dollars. But us. And it's by design. You've been so programmed and brainwashed that black businesses, oh, they don't open on time. The quality of their food isn't good. This, that, and the other thing. You've been so brainwashed by everything you see, by all the messaging, that you think Gucci is a better brand than some other black-owned brands. It's more well-known, and all you're worrying about is the perception. You got to stop worrying about the perception and focus on the reality. The reality is we're on the bottom of the totem pole because we're not supporting our brothers and sisters that have black-owned businesses. We're on the bottom of the totem pole because we're not teaching our children to be owners as opposed to be employees. You heard what one of the commandments was for the 10 Jewish business secrets. The number one commandment was to teach your children how to earn a living. Okay? That was number one. Number 6 was you're preferred to be an owner versus a worker. Only God is your master, not another man. That's one of the Jewish business secrets. So they're teaching their kids from the beginning, I'm going to own and control this. I'm going to be a producer, not a consumer. Okay? I'm going to understand and have a positive relationship with money. I'm not going to blow money looking silly. Okay? Trying to show off what I got. You trying to impress somebody that doesn't even like you and doesn't even care about you. You trying to throw money around, trying to show people that you are something. And people with real money are laughing at you. You're a clown. You're a clown. Where they say the loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. You're a clown to them. Because you don't even understand the relationship of money. A positive relationship with money. It is a tool. It's not just to flash, it's to build community and family. And that's what it's all about. We got to get our mind right, man. We're watching too much of this nonsense. You being programmed. Everything you watching on TV, right? Everything you listening to on the radio, not everything, but a lot of the stuff, you're being programmed. And I know you need a balance of real life stuff and entertainment, but you're being programmed and you don't even understand it. You don't even realize it. The worst part yet is you don't even recognize it. And I'm going to give you a real life example. You get paid on Friday, right? Say you get $1,000 net in your check from your employer. Once again, you're not the employee, you're the employer, number one. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're not built to be an entrepreneur. So you get $1,000 net in your check. You get that Thursday night, you wake up Friday morning and it's in your account. First thing you do is you go get some gas for the week or whatever. You spend $50 on gas. You'll stop and get a little breakfast or whatever. You'll spend another $15, $20, just say another $20 to keep it simple on coffee and breakfast. $70, right? Out of your $1,000. So now you get to work and it's lunchtime. So, it's Friday. You know what? Let's go out to lunch with a couple of my coworkers. You already spent $70. Now you spend another $30 at lunch. So that's $100. So now it's 5 o'clock Friday night. I just got paid. You know what? I'm going to hang out and grab some drinks and some dinner with some of my coworkers or friends. You go out, buy drinks, grab some dinner. That's another, say, $150 right there. So you're out $250 before you got home. And every place that you went, you didn't spend a dime in a black-owned business and you didn't even think about it. So you spent 25% of your take-home pay before you got home that day, right? So you went to the gas station and you went to grab some breakfast. I guarantee you they weren't black-owned. You went out to lunch. You may have gone to a chain restaurant or something else that isn't black-owned. Then you go out for dinner and drinks afterwards and you spend money on an establishment that isn't black-owned. You spent what? You spent 20-something% of your dollars, 25% of your income before you even got home on that Friday, and not one penny was spent with a black-owned business. That's unconscious. That's being unconscious. That's what they want you to do, is be unconscious. You didn't even think about it because it's so normal for you. It's natural to go to this gas station. It's natural to go out to lunch here, for lunchtime. It's natural to go here for dinner and drinks. And while we're being unconscious, they're consciously taking our money. Okay? Every other ethnicity. Trust me, how many... Now, you'll see it sometime, these soul food restaurants, you'll see white folks in there. But on the norm, how many times are you going to see other ethnicities be the backbone and support of our businesses? Very few. Now, the counter to that is with the Jewish community, the Asian community, the Indian community, and other communities, they can count on their family or their community to support their businesses. We would much rather go if there were two stores on the corner, two corner stores in North Philly, South Philly, Germantown, wherever you want to be. One was black owned and one was owned by the Koreans. If you selling wrap snacks in the black owned store for $1.50 and in the Korean store they're selling it for $1.40, then guess what? Most of the black folks that live in the neighborhood, they're going to go save that 10 cents at the Korean store, not understanding the economics of it. Not understanding that the Koreans have a buying group where they go in and all the Korean store owners will buy in bulk, which will reduce their costs, which will allow them to sell those wrap snacks for a little bit cheaper than Mr. Jones on the corner that's buying by himself. So his cost is higher, but not thinking, I'm going to save me 10 cents, man. That brother's trying to rob us, blah, 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 blah. Not understanding the economics of the situation. Now, if that was reversed and there was a black store in a Korean neighborhood, which ain't never going to happen, and a Korean store that was selling the wrap snacks and the Korean store prices was higher, all the Koreans would still go to the Korean store because they understand what that support means. And the reason that we need to support black-owned businesses is because when the black-owned businesses do well, then they can hire people. And statistics show that most companies hire people that look like them and they're comfortable with. So when you go into the Korean corner store, who do you see working there? You ladies, when you go to the hair store, right? You buying all your cosmetics or whatever, your hair and all that good stuff. You may see one sister in there just for show, but who's working in there? Who owns those stores? The Koreans, right? And they're hiring their own people. And when you start supporting your own businesses, you can hire your own people. Then you can expand and you're going to need more people. So it's a trickle up effect. We support our own businesses. Our businesses can grow. Now our businesses can give employment opportunities to our community. When I owned my mortgage business, I used to employ 99% of my employees were black. And a vast majority of them would have never gotten an opportunity to be in the mortgage business, make the money they were making if my business wasn't black owned. But I'm looking out for my people, and I'm not looking just on what your qualifications are. Where do you want to go? How committed are you? And are you ready to get down to work? So I'm going to give you an opportunity where you're not going to get an opportunity from some of these other companies. If your resume don't look right, if your name don't even look right on the resume, they're not even going to talk to you. You know why? They don't have to. Okay, we're supposed to have EEOC and all of that stuff. Excuse me. Yeah, you believe that if you want. But when you own and control your own industry, your own businesses, you can hire whoever you want. You continue to grow and expand. Now you can give somebody that you bought on as a trainee. Now maybe they're managing one of their own stores. Look at what other companies and ethnicities are doing. I went into, my wife wanted to get this seasoning. And we had to go to this Indian store, this Indian supermarket. I forgot what it was called. But she went in there, she wanted to buy it in bulk because it was cheaper. So we go into this Indian store, and all you saw in there, we were the only black folk in there. But everybody else was Indian. And once again, they're supporting their own, where we don't. The problem is, guys, we're taking that $1.6 trillion and we're giving it to everybody else. We're not building an infrastructure. There's a young brother in Philly that just built a supermarket, right? which is a great thing. So we try to support that every time we can. But the problem is everybody else has infrastructure in place. We don't. We don't have factories. We don't have businesses. Without the businesses, we're not able to employ our own. Just go look at some of these Chinatowns and these different Koreatowns and all these different type of places in these other communities and cities, and you'll see that it's a total infrastructure, banking, hospitals, entrepreneurship, jobs, everything. And that's what we're lacking. Man, I could talk about this for another hour, but I just want y'all to understand, guys, that we have everything that we need to put this in place. The problem is we're not working together. We're thinking more as individuals as opposed to community. And we need to start thinking about community, building up ourselves. If we look at on a worldwide or global spectrum, it's a shame. It's a shame what we're doing. It's a shame where our money is going. People are coming into our neighborhood, extracting our resources. We think that it's a blighted area. I'm driving through North Philly. But I guess what? There's Korean stores, there's Asian stores, there's all type of stores, and they're extracting the money out of your neighborhood, taking it back to their neighborhood. Man, y'all better wake up. Now, before I close out, man, I say this each and every week. We get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the new website, which we want to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs, the whole ecosystem, the online courses, the books, everything about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community. That's what it's all about, family. So please share this information, share the links, share the podcast, because we're trying to get this good word out there. It's got to be changed, and the change needs to start with you in your own house. Then you talk to your children. You teach them how to be an entrepreneur, how to build their own wealth. Okay. Teach your children how to earn a living outside of working for somebody else. Then you move to your local community, then the state, and so on and so forth. We need to start building political action committees to help influence politics and procedures and processes. We need to start building physical communities where we got Black towns all over the place, where everything in this area, it ain't rented. We own the buildings, like in Chinatown where they own the buildings. Man, once again, we get more and more downloads. As I said, please share the content with your network. We're trying to get this good word out there. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.